We live in a world that's just completely obsessed with being seen, right? But what if the real power, the real strength, lies in not needing to be seen at all? Let's explore that, the quiet strength of those who are playing a totally different game.
Okay, so think about it this way. Most of us, whether we like it or not, live by an external scorecard. We're measured our worth in likes, followers, applause, you name it. But there's another way to keep score. It's the internal scorecard, and it values things like purpose, mastery, authenticity, and peace. It's a completely different way to define success.
I mean, let's face it, we live in the age of performance. It feels like every single moment could be or should be staged for an audience. That pressure to constantly broadcast and curate our lives is just immense. And honestly, it's exhausting.
But this brings up a really fascinating question, doesn't it? How do some people seem totally immune to all this pressure? They are not there chasing virality or clamoring for attention. So what do they know that maybe we don't? Is this a choice they're making, or are they just wired differently?
And that gets us right to the core idea here. This isn't about rejecting the world or hiding away. It's about consciously choosing to play a different game. A game with a whole different set of rules and, frankly, a much more meaningful prize.
And let's be really clear on this point. This isn't about failing to get noticed. That's not the goal. The goal is to build a life where your own self-worth is so solid that external validation just becomes a nice bonus, not a necessity. And that is a position of incredible strength.
Okay, so let's dig into the mechanics of this. How does someone actually build this internal scorecard? What's the psychological engine that's driving this whole mindset?
Well, the answer isn't some ancient secret. It's a psychological principle you've probably experienced yourself without even realizing it. So, what is it? What fuels this quiet confidence?
It's called intrinsic motivation. This is the drive that comes from within. It's when you do something simply because you love the act of doing it. You love the challenge, the learning, the focus. The reward is the work itself, not some trophy or applause at the end. Think about the coder who loves solving the puzzle, the gardener who loves tending the soil, or the writer who just loves crafting that perfect sentence.
Now, that sounds great in theory, but how do you actually cultivate this kind of mindset, right? How do you really shift from chasing likes to loving the process? Let's break it down. It really comes down to 3 steps. First, you have to define your own metrics for success. What does winning look like to you? Second, you have to prioritize the process over the praise. And third, you have to learn to embrace the value of that quiet, unseen work, because that's where the true growth really happens. When you make this shift, it brings more than just a sense of calm. The true reward here is freedom. And in our hyper-visible world, that's a rare and incredibly powerful thing to have. This freedom means you can escape the exhausting weight of constant judgment. It's the freedom to be your weird, authentic self without worrying about how it's going to be perceived. It's the freedom to experiment, and maybe most crucially, to fail in private, which is where all real learning happens. And most of all, it's the freedom to focus your precious time and energy on what you genuinely believe matters.
So after all this, it's really important to understand one key thing. The ultimate goal here, the prize you're working toward, it isn't to become invisible. That's not it. The prize is independence, emotional independence, creative independence. It's the power to be the author of your own life, to define your own worth, and to pursue your own path, whether you have an audience of 10 million or just one.
So I want to leave you with one final thought experiment. It's a powerful question to ask yourself as you try to navigate this whole age of performance that we're living in.
Now seriously, take a moment and really think about it. If there were no likes, no shares, no applause, and no judgment, what would you pour your heart into? The answer to that question, well, that might just be the truest thing about you.